boys and girls. Today is so exciting because we have wonderful things happening today. The very first thing that is happening is that we are starting Module 2 for Wit and Wisdom. How exciting is that? It's so exciting to start this module with you guys. And second is that in our life lesson, we are going to have an Anna module celebration, and it's going to be super duper fun. So I'm excited for that as well. So congratulations, boys and girls. We have completed module 1. You guys worked extremely hard on that module. We learned so much about the different changes that we see in weather and how it impacts people and animals, right? And also plants. Today we're starting with module 2. And module 2, boys and girls, it's really interesting, and I know I kind of mentioned it to you guys, last week about module 2, learning about the American West. So I do want to read the module summary for you guys so that you guys have an idea of what it is. So throughout our nation's history, the West has symbolized hope, courage, and possibility. Native populations and early settlers, however, encouraged the harshness of life in the West firsthand. So what growth came from those struggles? What was life like in the American West for those natives to the land? What was it like for those who settled there? How did changes impact people and nature? This module explores changes, boys and girls, to the people and the environment of the West. So it is building that concept of change that was introduced in module 1, and it's building it into this one. But now we're going to be looking at the change in the actual land. You will start the study of American West by reading The Buffalo Are Back. So that is what we're going to start analyzing today and tomorrow. And of course, throughout the first 5 lessons, we will be exploring that book. So it's really interesting. You're going to analyze and connect historical events and the relationships between people and nature. We're going to also read some poems. We're going to look at illustrations, just like, in module 1, but now the topic being American West. We're going to look at the textbooks as well as the Plain Indians and Journey of the Pioneer. And we're going to understand the life in the West before and after the arrival of settlers. So we're going to build that knowledge that we already have of us writing an informative paragraph and reading informative text, and look into the topics and details by reading this awesome new text with the topic of American West. We're going to also look at the people's perspective of their journey from the east to the west, and that will be with the Journey of the Pioneer. So that's going to be very exciting. We're going to look at how the characters, the response of the characters, the challenges that the characters face. And the Journey of the Pioneer is a diary, so it is, we're going to see diary entries and dates of when, the events happen. So it's going to be really, really, really interesting. And then we're also going to examine life lessons. So we're going to read The Legend of the Blue Bonnet. That's another book, and that one is actually a lesson that we're going to learn about, And then we're also going to hear awesome legends like John Henry and Johnny Appleseed. You probably are like, what are all of this, right? But it's all the things that we're going to encounter in this awesome module. And we're going to compare and contrast 2 different books from Johnny Appleseed. 2 different authors wrote about him. And we're going to compare and contrast the different type of storylines and then also for John Henry. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited for that one as well. And we're going to analyze and you know, compare and contrast those, how one author can exaggerate something when the other one focuses on something else of the particular life of that legend, right? And then, of course, our end of module task will require for us to write an informative paragraph using evidence from text like the Johnny Appleseed and John Henry, and then comparing them to real life pioneers. That is the journey of the pioneer, and of course the Plain Indians. And we're just going to build all this knowledge and grow with what happened in the West during this time. And that is when we're also, in this module, we're also going to have like a timeline, and we're going to be adding to that timeline depending on, you know, the events that we're reading on and the book that we're reading. So all the books will be connected within the timeline. And we're actually going to see how some of the books are happening at the same time that the other one is happening. It's just that there's different people going through different struggles. And it's going to be extremely, extremely educational, because it's really interesting how now where we see California, Nevada, Washington, before, you know, it wasn't as populated as it is right now. So we're going to learn about the journey of how, you know, pioneers and settlers went into the American West, and it's going to be super interesting. So I'm excited for that. And of course, having that knowledge that we learned from Module 1 about changes and the impact on changes, and using that knowledge to understand Module 2. So let's get started. So we're going to start with lesson 1 today. And of course, it's going to be a small introduction, because remember, in our live, we're going to do our Anna module celebration. And then tomorrow we will continue with lesson 1 out as well. So today we're going to get started. And today the student will be able to ask and answer questions about the buffalo or back. So what are we going to be doing in lesson 1? Our lesson 1 focus is noticing and wondering, right? We know that a notice is an observation. What do you see? A wonder is curious about something. It is a question, and we're going to be listening to the essential question. Remember, it's always important to keep that essential question in mind throughout the module, so that you can be ready for that end of module task, just like you guys were ready back in module 1, and you guys did amazing. How are we going to do that? So first, I'm going to introduce the west direction. I put it like that because I'm going to introduce when you look at it in the United States, which one is the west side. Then I'm going to read the essential question, and we're going to finish this video by looking at the illustrations. Tomorrow, in the recorded video, I will read the book, The Buffalo Are Back. While I'm reading the book, of course, you're going to be working on notices and wonders. And then in our life, we will be looking into the, what's it called? The Buffalo Dust. And it is a poem. It's a really nice poem that we're going to be looking into and examining it. So that is what we're going to be doing today and tomorrow. So why is it important? Looking at the illustrations before reading always helps us know if we're understanding the text. I know that we do like story walks, so that's basically what we're going to be doing. I just didn't want to name it like that yet because I haven't introduced it to all my students. So when you look at the illustrations, it's like a small story walk. You look at I go like this because you're walking through the book, looking at the illustrations. You can even do predictions, an educated guess, right? To see if our prediction is right whenever we read the book. So it's going to be extremely exciting. So let's get started with the very first part. And the very first part, like I said, was going to be understanding the essential question. So our essential question is, what was life like in the West for early Americans? So how was life in the West? So what is West? So if you look at this campus rose, You can see north, east, southwest. I use it as never eat sour worms. Some people use it as never eat sour watermelon or never eat sour waffles. I don't know, right? I like to use worms, I don't know, because I picture the colorful candy, so never eat sour worms. Don't eat the candy, because then you get cavities like Miss Salvador's, right? So, when you look at the west side, if you look at here, when you're looking at a map, you are looking at this side of the map, or the United States. So this is the west side, boys and girls. When you travel west from the United States, it is the California area, talking Las Vegas and Washington State and all of those so if you look closely here to our wonderful map, you can see never eat sour worms, north, east, south, west. If you put it here in the middle, you can see that this is the west. So that is what we're going to be focusing on in this module. We are going to be learning about pioneers and settlers and Native Americans, Plain Indians, right, that lived here. And then we had our 13 colonies over here, and they were migrating into the American West, okay? So just like we learned in Module 1, migrating south when it gets cold, the birds, the geese, here the actual settlers are migrating to the west, so this is the west side of the United States, okay? So just so that you guys have that picture, you know what area we're going to be talking about. We're going to be exploring that area, and in this module we're going to also learn and explore the West and learn about the people that were there. Like I said, we're going to learn about the land, the people, the animals that were part of that American West and during the time of the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be really interesting to learn how that area got populated. So our essential question, now that we know what side of the United States we're talking about, I'm going to read it again, is what was life like in the West for early Americans? So I do want for you guys to read it, so wait for my signal. You are going to read the essential question and get ready. Yes, what was life like in the West for the early Americans? I do want for you guys to think of two things while we are doing this module. We are focusing on the west of the American West, and we're looking at the life that early Americans had. Now, early Americans can be, you know, the settlers that are moving into the West. So how was their life? We need to be gathering those details while we are reading all the awesome books that we're going to be reading in this module. Remember that the essential question, it is the big question, boys and girls. Don't forget that. So the essential question is the big question. The focusing question is the medium question, and the content framing question is the small question. The essential question, we take the whole module to answer it. Just like we did in module 1, we took the whole module to answer that essential question. We're going to be doing the same for module 2. Our focusing question, this one is, we'll be answering this question by lesson 5 of module 2. So we're not going to answer it this week. This week we're only going to be able to do lesson 1 and 2. But when we come back from winter break, we will be answering this focusing question. So it's, how did the actions of American Indians and early Americans impact the Perry in the American West? If you have no idea what Perry means, I will show you a picture of what Perry means. The reason why it's bolded, boys and girls, is because we are looking closely into that word, okay? So we are going to be looking closely into that, because that is what they want to know. How did the American Indians and the early Americans impact that part of land? What did they do? What were the actions that they did that impacted it, either good or bad? So that is what they want to know by the end of lesson 5. So this is a prairie. If you look closely, boys and girls, a prairie is a large area of land. It is towards the west, it is flat, and it is grassy. We do have this type of land here in the valley, but we are looking at like a large land where at the time in the American West, there was many buffalo roaming this awesome land. So we are going to be looking at that. It's very important. When we began exploring this book, it's very important for us to know that the animal that we're going to be looking at is the buffalo. Okay, so that is the animal we're going to be looking at. And how did the animal impact the prairie? And then, like I said, it is a large area of land in the west that is flat and grassy. It is grassy because that's what buffalo eat, right? Now, I want you to think about the first time that you read a new book. So think about it. The first time that you read a new book, what are the stuff that you think about before you even start reading that book? So I know that whenever I start reading a book, I start noticing things, right? I start noticing, right now I'm showing you the buffalo are back. So I start noticing like, oh, there's buffalo. There is like a big buffalo, and then I can see a baby calf, right? A baby buffalo. I can see that this illustration looks like a painting, and if I look closely, it does say paintings by Wendell Miner. So we are going to be looking at paintings. I can see that there is grass, because we did talk about the prairie. So it's very interesting. So we start noticing things, and that is what I want for you to think. Because we are going to look at the illustrations, and we're going to notice things of the illustrations, okay? So our content framing question: what do you notice and wonder about the buffalo are back? That question will be answered by the end of lesson 1. It is the small question, and it is answered at the end of every lesson. And like I mentioned in the beginning, our objective is students will be able to ask and answer questions. So we are going to notice and wonder about the buffalo are back. And this is the buffalo are back. This is the cover of the book. And we already started noticing things about the book. So you're already completing half of your objective, right? And you can even create a question like, what is the calf this buffalo's child, or, baby? You can already start creating questions just by looking at the cover. So we are going to do a very fast gallery walk. We're going to be looking at the buffalo are back, the illustrations. While I'm going through the illustrations, boys and girls, I do want you to think about notices. I want for you guys to, if you want to create a prediction, and remember that prediction whenever we discuss it tomorrow in our live, because we are going to continue discussing lesson 1 tomorrow in our recorded video and our live, because remember, in today's live we are doing our ENA module celebration. So this is the very last thing we're going to do before I let you go to your live. So remember, we are going to do a gallery walk. That means that we're going to be looking at the illustrations. You are going to be doing notices and wonders. And of course, you're going to be looking at if there's any way that you can do a prediction of what you think is happening in the book, right? What do you think is happening in the book? It's always good to do an educated guess, just so that you can compare your guess to the actual text once we read it. Okay, so let's do that. This book is 34 pages, boys and girls, so I am going to be moving a little bit fast because I do want for you guys to have the appropriate time to go into your life and have a wonderful time for your ENA module celebration. So for lesson 1, we are just stopping here. We did our welcome, we did the launch, and we are stopping at half of the learn, where we are actually exploring the illustrations, right? So we're going to be exploring the illustrations, and you're already working on your objective, that you are already doing those notice and wonders based on the illustrations that we're doing, okay? So you can start asking questions, and then we're going to discuss those questions tomorrow. If you want, you can write them down on your response journal, or you can just think about it and remember them. But I'm not going to ask you to do, something specifically. Just think of those notice and wonders so that you can have them in mind for tomorrow's lesson. So here we are starting. And this book is beautiful because like it said, it is painting. So look at those beautiful paintings. Here, this one is the same picture from the cover. You can see here that the buffalo are not the only animals that live in the prairie, right? This one is the American Indians, so we're going to learn about the American Indians. If you look at this illustration, one of the questions that I always think about is, why are they burning the prairie? Why are they doing that? It always amazes me. It's like, why are they burning it? I don't get it. So think about that. Why are they burning it? We'll learn about it tomorrow when we read our book. Here it looks like a guy hunting, right? Is he hunting buffalo, or he's just hunting different type of animals? I don't know. We'll see. Then we're going to learn about the buffalo. You can read here. So we're going to learn about how the buffalo helps the prairie, right? Maybe? I don't know. I'm thinking. This looks like an American Indian. There's teepees over here in the back. Then you can see here that it's actually farmer workers, right? Or what might have they been doing? Cutting the grass, or are they planting? Now this one, there's grasshoppers. I don't know what the grasshoppers are doing, right? But the people are trying to push them away from the prairie. That's what I think. I might be wrong, guys. I don't know. Let's see. So there's like a farmhouse. Here I can see that maybe the settlers are taking over the land of the American Indians, because first there was American Indians in the prairie, and now I see settlers. So maybe. And they look like they're carrying stuff, so. And then something happened, and this looks like a very important person. And then there's more buffalo. And then we see a school. Okay, boys and girls, so that is it. I hope you enjoy your notices and wonders. Remember to think about them so that whenever we are doing your read aloud, you are thinking of those predictions that you guys probably did in this awesome story walk, gallery walk. And you can compare those predictions with the actual text. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see you in 5 minutes for your awesome Anamaja celebrations. I'm so excited for that, and I'm sure that Ms. Rodriguez is also super excited to celebrate with you all the hard work that you guys did in Module 1. And I hope you guys are also excited for Module 2, because it is awesome to learn about history of the United States and how it is the United States now. So thank you, boys and girls, for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to continuing the lesson tomorrow. Bye.